Hello and welcome to Architectural Business Strategy. Here, we work to maximize your value-enhancing systems to establish superior architectural firm positioning. No, this isn't fancy language to promote ourselves as another branding or marketing firm. We help you find the strategic advantage that you have in the market and then optimize your firm to create more value for your clients and profit for you. Did you know that architects are one of the lowest paid professional consultants while also being one of the rarest? For some comparison, there's around 950,000 practicing physicians and around 1.3 million attorneys. But in 2017, Income reported only about 113,500 licensed architects in the United States, and that number hasn't changed dramatically as not a lot of new architects get licensed every year. Now, we could also discuss the average salaries, but we all know that the best paid architects make far less than the lowest paid physicians, and that's true of our fellow attorneys as well. Further, out of every architecture firm started, just over about 25% of those firms will survive their first 10 years in business. Now, these statistics are astonishing and a little depressing. Another thing that you may not know is that the architectural industry is changing as fast today as it was in the 1980s. Now, some of us may not remember what was happening in the early 1980s, but banks were capitalizing large projects, insurance agencies were conglomerating, and CAD was getting a foothold in the industry. And the AIA announced a new honest system for presenting architectural fees called cost-based pricing. While we can imagine the pressures on the industry then, we face much larger demands today. Things like building information modeling, which is changing the way that we design and build structures, outsourced services, worldwide industries, and international building codes are just to name a few. Now, for over a decade, architects have been buzzing about value-based fee structures. Unfortunately, we still seem to struggle with the concept that design equals value. However, it seems that the market would hardly agree. Phil Bernstein, an architect, technologist, professor at Yale, and writer for the Architectural Record, noted in his article, Why the Architecture Field Needs a New Business Model, that the economic models for designing and building, how architects and builders are selected and contracted, are almost exclusively driven by getting the lowest price, irrespective of the desired result. I hope you read that article, but we know that architects can base their fees on the value that they bring to the market, but it requires us to shift our perspective of practice from selling time to producing real value that clients actually care about. And to do this, you must focus on 6 components in your business: the company goal alignment, the market value positioning, your business generation strategy, revenue generation opportunities, product value enhancements, and personnel accountability structures. So what are these things? These are the things that our company focuses on and helps your firm create systems to ensure consistency throughout your organization. And since we want to set you up for success, we're going to run through what these focuses mean, the main benefits, and some best practices so you can get started right now. The real purpose of defining company-wide goals is to get the entire company moving toward a common objective. Andre Lavoie, the CEO and co-founder of Clear Company, states in his article, Strategic Alignment with Goals 101, when your people understand what their goals are and how they align with the goals of their teams and leaders, you can ensure that everyone in the company is collaborating on the right projects at the right time. Some of the benefits of this, of course, is that clarifying company goals is the first phase to get everyone in the company headed in the same direction. Also, clarifying goals helps to break down each objective into attainable, measurable, and predictable milestones. And lastly, companies that have targeted goals make more revenue and profit than those that do not. So how can you get started? At best, you've got to have minimum monthly accountability meetings to check the progress of the company goals. Short-term goals may require more frequent meetings, But you've got to keep these meetings short and to the point. What you want to know is, where are we? What stands in the way of us attaining this goal? And what further resources will be required? You've also got to define your goals in terms of the results to be achieved. A profitability goal of 20% or a revenue goal of 1 million are some examples. This allows you to set milestones and track them. And lastly, you've got to 10x the perceived effort. Now, this comes from one of my mentors, Grant Cardone, and it's that every goal will take more effort than we assume. And by speculating that it's going to take 10 times the effort, we guarantee the goal attainment and will likely reduce the time that it's going to take to get there. So people are willing to pay for value, but it's our jobs as businesses to position ourselves to provide that value. No one wants plans for a house, and no one wants a permit. The paper and ink that comprises the plans is not worth a lot of money, but the spaces that support a family's lifestyle and create a positive, encouraging place to raise children and age in place is priceless. So what is the value of the architectural services that provide that solution? See, defining your market position helps you to strengthen your promotional strategy towards your target market in a way that's compelling to that market. Also, defining your market position helps to reinforce the evolution of your services that are needed to serve that market better, and it also helps you to create some new services as that market evolves. Your market position allows you to clearly identify who your competition is and differentiate your firm advantageously. And lastly, defining your market position and evolving your services means that you can add more value to that market segment, which positions you to increase your fees to provide that value. Market positioning starts with clarifying the target market that you serve and then defining them through their demographics and psychographics. Research into a defined market will reveal what they value, how to reach them, and how your marketing efforts will connect with them. Creating a value proposition and core story that speaks to the market makes your marketing work harder. And defining a service ladder that ranges from low-cost entry-level services to the premium service that provides the highest value are the ways that you get started doing this. Now, the main goal of business generation strategy is to define clearly the market and sales process in such a way that it leads to predictable lead creation. Most architecture firms experience a feast-to-famine flow of work. They chase work, and then as the work starts to fill up, they put the marketing on hold so that they can get the work done. And then when the projects are coming to an end, they reboot the marketing, which often means changing it or updating it, and then they go chase some more work. Business generation strategy leverages the market value positioning in such a way that the clients you want to work for are attracted to your business. So the benefits obviously are that bringing in work that excites your team increases productivity and work satisfaction, which will boost your staff efficiencies. And systematizing lead generation will ensure a consistent flow of work. And lastly, you gain the freedom to reject projects that you're really not interested in doing or you don't want. So how do you get started is that you understand your value proposition, which is the statement that clearly states the value that you provide to your target market. And then you focus on your core story. The core story is the education-based marketing approach that serves as the core for all of your marketing. And then you create a value ladder, which is how your services increase value to your clients as they move through your service ladder from the beginning to the end. And then you align your marketing with your clients' wants and desires. It's not about your services or features, it's about them and their wants and desires. Now let's talk a little bit about revenue generation opportunities. Finding opportunities to generate revenue aside from design projects can be tricky. Luckily, there are many opportunities to add value to the development market, from seminars and books to holding your own properties and developing projects yourself. Architects, whether we know it or not, have the potential to produce huge value outside of the buildings we design for the communities that we serve. However, it's a trend in the information age, and likely before, that we give away the valuable information for free, thinking that people will pay for the drawings. And as we stated earlier, no one's interested in drawings, but they do have desires that our services provide a solution to. So what are the benefits? Multiple sources of revenue generation provide an insulation buffer for you and your profits. Also, multiple revenue sources lower the risk of market downturns. And these opportunities help you to develop systems that target specific services and increase the efficiency of your production. And lastly, providing upfront education sources helps to develop predictable outcomes for team delegation later in the process. So how do you get started? You first need to define a sales process in which you add value and get paid prior to engaging the client in a contract for design services. Consider what kind of education your clients need at each phase that would help set them up for success in the coming phases. And stop thinking about what you do and begin thinking about why people want it. Considering what would help a client ensure that they were on their way to a successful project before they engaged you, and then trying to figure out what you could produce or develop to provide a solution to that to make sure that they were set up for success. One of the ways to get started is to think about the 6 to 8 most common questions that you get asked prior to a client signing an agreement, and then develop an informational or value-adding service for each one of those issues. What you can do or offer that will increase the value of the services that you already provide are considered product value enhancements. Knowing what you do well and the value that it adds to your clients is just a starting point. You can really pile on the value for any given project in ways that your competition cannot match. And then you can take it even further by enhancing those services. It's important to realize that the value really lies in the eyes of the target market. Museums, schools, hospitals, and apartment developers all see value in different aspects of design, so you've got to know who you serve. Positioning yourself in terms of value to the market sets you up to base your services on value rather than on price, but it requires you to prove yourself in terms of value to that market. But when you do this, providing more value increases the amount of money that people are willing to pay you for your services, which leads to increased profitability. Value enhancements gives you more service options, leading to a robust value ladder. And value enhancements also gives your clients more options and incentives to pay you for higher value services, leaving you with higher margins on your projects. And it also gives you some selling options. It provides more options for service, giving you greater leverage when negotiating with new or inexperienced prospects. So getting started, you need to really just ask yourself for each one of the services that you provide, what stands in the way of this producing a much better result? It helps if you can target the services that your clients find the most valuable first, and then and to do this, you just simply have to ask your clients what aspects and services they like best about your company. What they come back with, they're going to tell you what they're going to notice the most when you start adding value to those services. So your personnel accountability structure is extremely important, and this is how your company defines who is accountable for what and who holds those roles accountable. Accountability is not responsibility. Someone who is accountable for a deliverable may delegate responsibility of tasks to another, but they cannot delegate the results. Every position in your company is accountable for delivering some result. Every role should be held accountable by someone else, even the president, CEO, and owner. The fact that we will be held accountable drives people, but it equally as important is how these accountabilities are tracked and measured. Personnel accountability structures ensure predictability of all company desired results. They also create a system of delegation for tasks and deliverables that strive to achieve a desired result. And most importantly, personnel accountability structures clarify the expectation and desired results for every position in the company. So how do you get started? First, you have to define all the responsibilities for each position in the company. And then you want to group all of those responsibilities into topics, fields, or subjects in which they've got something in common. Then determine what the best position in your company is to be accountable for each topic, field, or subject. And in that respective position, note what they're accountable for and define the desired result. This definition of the desired result is probably the most important piece of that. And there's so much more here that we just don't have time to talk about. But as you can see, this is not another marketing or branding company. We strategically maximize your value enhancing systems to establish superior architectural firm position. So if you're ready to get started, click the button below and get set up for your personal one-on-one strategy session to discuss any of these core focuses and get your company moving toward the dream life that you had in mind when you started it. What are you waiting for? Click the button below now and let's get started.